welcome to another deep dive. This one might make you wonder, what if? We're going to take a look at an alternate timeline. One where Donald Trump is president, but, well, not the one we know.
Yeah, a very different Trump. A world where instead of, skyscrapers and boardrooms, his focus is on community art centers and fostering creativity.
Wow. Okay, so where are we getting this from?
We're drawing from a biography, La Historia de Donald, and a Visionario que abrazó la vida.
Okay.
Written in Spanish, it paints this picture of a Trump who prioritizes self-discovery and connection over wealth and power. A world where his journey leads him to become president, but his path there is anything but conventional.
Right, so how does this Trump compare to the one we all know? Like, what led him to this point? What does it mean for his presidency? I guess those are the questions.
Exactly, and that's what we're going to unpack. How did he get here, and what does it all mean? So we'll explore some key chapters in this book, starting with his early years. Chapter 1, it's titled La búsqueda de un propósito verdadero, the search for true purpose.
So it's about his search for true purpose. Okay, so I guess what's the scene like in this first chapter?
It sets the scene with a young Donald, small town, grappling with self-doubt, searching for meaning. Yeah.
Is that hard to picture? The Trump we know doesn't really strike me as, the introspective type.
Yeah.
But here he's actually turning inward, exploring his emotions. How does he do that? Through creative writing.
Yes, through creative writing. And what's really striking, what really sets this alternate Donald apart is his willingness to embrace vulnerability.
Okay.
He finds solace in the concept of karma, not as some kind of cosmic punishment or anything like that, but as a recognition of interconnectedness, a natural flow to life. Like, he can't control everything.
Yeah.
And that really sets the foundation for a very different worldview than we're used to.
That's a far cry from the image of the deal maker, always in command, the one that, most of us are familiar with.
Yeah.
So it sounds like this theme of connection really takes center stage.
Absolutely. And it's front and center in Chapter 2, Los Muros de la Independencia, the walls of independence.
Okay, the walls of independence. So what happens in this chapter?
In this chapter, we see Donald encountering Elena. She's a local artist.
Mm-hmm.
Her warmth, her openness, it challenges his belief in self-reliance.
Okay.
It's a powerful dynamic. Those walls he's built to protect himself, they're also isolating him.
Right.
Elena helps him see that, true strength can actually come from letting those walls down.
Right, and embracing connection. Okay, so where does this lead him?
This realization leads to a really pivotal moment. Donald participates in a community mural project. You can almost picture it, brushes in hand, working alongside his neighbors, contributing to a shared vision.
It's almost impossible to imagine the Trump that we know doing something like that, right?
Hard to picture, yeah. But think about the power of art in this context. It breaks down those metaphorical walls, fosters a sense of belonging. We see this happening in real communities all the time. Art bridges divides, fosters dialogue, creates understanding.
So this experience really leaves a mark on him.
Absolutely. It's transformative. And that transformation really takes shape in Chapter 3, El Poder de la Creatividad. It shows us how he channels that newfound sense of purpose. He's inspired by Elena, starts teaching art to underprivileged youth.
He's a mentor himself now?
Yeah, he's paying it forward. And there's this touching story about a shy boy named Martin.
Okay.
He reminds Donald of his own struggles. By sharing his own vulnerabilities, this alternate Donald creates a space for the children to express themselves. It's not just about art techniques, it's about finding their voice.
Interesting. So where does this all lead?
Well, it all culminates in an art exhibition showcasing the children's work. It's this big celebration of creativity and community, a far cry from, the gold-plated towers and the reality TV shows.
Right. So I guess this raises a question. What defines success? Is it wealth or fame, or is it about something else entirely?
That's a great question, and it's one the book really grapples with. For this Donald, success isn't about the material things. It's about positive impact, fostering connection, and celebrating achievements together. It really makes you think about how we define success in our own lives, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's a powerful message. So what happens next? Where does his journey go from here?
Well, it gets even more interesting. It takes kind of an unexpected turn. We're introduced to Maria, a dynamic community leader, in Chapter 4, La Fuerza de la Comunidad.
Okay, La Fuerza de la Comunidad. So how does she fit into all of this?
She partners with Donald on this park revitalization project.
Okay.
She brings a different perspective to the table, a more pragmatic, action-oriented approach, which really complements Elena's more nurturing style.
Okay, so they work well together.
They make a great team. And the murals they create, they're more than just decorations. They're a reflection of the community itself, depicting local history, the diversity, the dreams for the future. It's a powerful statement of inclusivity.
Yeah, definitely contrasts with what we're used to. So this park, is it just symbolic, or does it actually have an impact on the community?
It's not just symbolic, it's tangible. There's this scene, actually, with an elderly resident, Doña Carmen. She expresses her gratitude for the project. It's about pride, revitalization, and reconnection.
It makes you think about those public spaces, parks, community centers, how they revitalize communities in the real world. What about you? Have you experienced that transformative power of these kinds of spaces?
Absolutely. I mean, think about your favorite park or, community garden. It's a gathering place. It's a place to connect. It's a place where people feel like they belong. And that sense of belonging, that's powerful. We left off with Donald, really immersed in these community projects, a far cry from the world of politics, right? But here's where this biography takes a turn. This Donald Trump, he becomes president of the United States.
I mean, seriously. President Trump.
Yeah.
Like the art enthusiast, the community builder, champion of the underdog. It's a lot to process.
It is. And the book really explores how those experiences, those formative years that we've been discussing, how they actually shape his presidency.
Okay, so it's not like he suddenly flips a switch. It's more of a continuation, right?
Exactly. A natural progression, you could say.
So President Trump, the community builder, what's his America like?
Well, imagine a presidency where the focus isn't America first, but maybe community first. Instead of building walls, he's building bridges. Domestically, internationally, his policies emphasize connection, art and education as these tools for empowerment.
That's so different from what we've seen. I mean, talk about a different set of priorities. What about actual policies? Give me some specifics.
Sure, take education. He makes these huge investments in arts programs, especially for underprivileged communities. He sees creativity not as a luxury, but a fundamental human need, like a pathway to self-discovery, to expressing yourself.
Interesting. So it's about a different understanding of human potential, not just all about economic success. What about economic policy? Does he still have, that businessman's mindset?
He does, but it's channeled differently. Instead of corporate tax cuts, trickle-down economics, his policies focus on empowering local economies, small businesses.
So a bottom-up approach.
Yeah.
Instead of top-down.
Exactly.
That's a big shift.
Yeah.
Does it work? I mean, is his America thriving?
Well, the book paints a nuanced picture. You see a society with less income inequality, a stronger social safety net, but it's not a utopia. There are definitely challenges. Critics who say that focus on local economies, it hurts global competitiveness.
Yeah.
Others question his social programs. Are they sustainable in the long term?
So even in this alternate timeline, no escaping political debates and disagreements, huh?
Right.
Okay. So what are some of the biggest controversies? What does he get pushback on?
One of the most striking is foreign policy. His approach is much less interventionist, prioritizes diplomacy, humanitarian aid over military force, no trade wars, no saber rattling. A very different face of America on the world stage.
Yeah, that's a huge contrast to America first. But wouldn't that, make him look weak to other world leaders?
That's a tension the book explores. Some world leaders actually welcome it. It's a refreshing change, from the more aggressive stances. But others, they see it as naive, leaving a void in global leadership.
A mixed bag internationally. So does any of this impact our timeline? Is there like a ripple effect?
That's something the book leaves open. One parallel that really jumps out is his approach to climate change. He's all about international cooperation, invests heavily in renewable energy.
So does that make you think, what if our timeline took a similar approach? Could we have made more progress?
It's definitely food for thought. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so this very different Trump, what do the American people think?
It's interesting, even with this focus on unity and community, he's still polarizing. Some criticize the less aggressive foreign policy, call it weak. Others aren't happy with his emphasis on social programs.
Government overreach.
Exactly.
So even this, kinder, gentler Trump still can't escape the critics.
It seems like political division is almost unavoidable no matter who the leader is, what their intentions are.
Yeah.
And that's a really key takeaway here. The book isn't offering easy answers. It's not a utopia. Societal tensions run deep. Even a president like this faces pushback.
Makes you think. What about Elena and Maria? I mean, They were instrumental in his transformation.
They become his closest advisors.
Huh.
But their relationship is complicated. They see the positive impact of his policies, but they also struggle with some of his choices.
Okay.
Is he compromising too much? Is the presidency pulling him away from those values?
So even in this alternate reality, there's still that human drama.
Right. And it's a reminder that even the people who inspire us, they're still flawed.
Capable of making mistakes.
Absolutely. And it highlights the pressure of leadership, especially on a global scale. Makes you wonder how much any one person, even a president, can really change things.
It's a big question, and one we'll keep exploring as we delve into the final chapter of his journey in this alternate timeline. Okay, so we've been on this journey exploring this alternate timeline where Donald Trump becomes president. But this isn't the Trump we know. This one's all about, self-discovery, community.
Yeah.
And last we left off, he was really grappling with, I guess all the challenges that come with leadership. His friends, his, critic, everybody's watching his every move. So what happens? I mean, what happens to his vision? Does he actually manage to create a more, compassionate, connected America?
It's a great question. And the last part of the book really delves into his legacy. It's not a fairy tale, but it does paint a realistic picture of the impact he makes. One of his most notable achievements is he creates this national arts and mentorship program, modeled after the one he started in his own community, remember?
Right.
It really shows how deeply he believes in empowering the next generation, using creativity and connection to do that.
So he takes that, small town success story and makes it national. That's fascinating. What kind of impact does it have?
It becomes a pillar of his agenda. Imagine a whole generation of young people. They've got the tools to express themselves, to connect, to make positive change. It's a powerful vision. And the book suggests it really works. It creates a more engaged, more empowered population.
That's pretty amazing. But we also talked about those controversies, his foreign policy, the economy, even his advisors had doubts. Does he stay true to his ideals? Or does he cave to the pressure?
The book is honest about the challenges. There are definitely moments where he's tempted to fall back into old habits, get more aggressive, take the easy way out.
Right.
But in the end, he finds a way to navigate those tensions. He never loses sight of those core values, that belief in connection and working together. It's not easy, of course. He makes mistakes, but he sticks to the path.
So it's a reminder that leadership is tough. It's about balance, compromise, especially when you're trying to change things on a big scale. It sounds like this Donald, he never loses sight of the bigger picture.
You got it. And that's what makes his legacy so interesting. He doesn't have all the answers. He doesn't create some perfect world, but he shifts the conversation. He leaves behind this legacy of empathy, of community over division. And it all starts with his own personal growth, that willingness to be vulnerable, to connect.
Wow. It's a powerful message. And it really makes you think, what if? What if our Donald had chosen that path, embraced those same values?
Who knows? But this deep dive, it really makes you consider the possibilities. Even with all the craziness in the world, individuals can make a difference. It starts with looking inward, being willing to face our own vulnerabilities, and then connecting with each other, really connecting.
It's a story of hope and a challenge to all of us, really. I mean, what can we do in our own lives to create that same spirit of connection? How can we build a better world? This alternate timeline, it might seem like fantasy, but it gives us a blueprint, a vision for something different, and it's up to us to make it happen.